and Mel are back this week, as today I'm going to take a look at the 8th release from the Doctor Who Big Finish main range for this year, In the Blood Furnace, written by Eddie Robson. Of course, previously last month I did review The High Price of Parking, so if you're a 7th Doctor fan, I do recommend checking out that review, as well as the final review from the 7th Doctor trilogy for this year, being the Silurian Candidate, which should be up in about a month's time. I don't particularly know, I can't read the future. However, briefly, a very quick notice, as you can tell, we're in a little bit of a different backdrop this time round, because that's normally blue, and it has been for a very long time. Well, basically, in case you don't follow me on social media, I've had my room decorated. It's all quite different now. I do have a wooden floor. Don't know how that's affecting the microphone. If it's a little bit echoey, I'll try to fix it for the next video. I'm aware the background may look a little bit bland as well, hence why I've kind of put a photo of Colin Baker there, just to brighten it up a little bit. I think a friend photo or something might be going there at some point. I don't particularly know yet. Basically, everything is a work in progress at the moment. The room literally still smells of paint. I just had to sit down and film this review for you all today, so I don't get a little bit of a backlog, even though I've got a backlog when it comes to videos already. This is pretty much the reason why you didn't get any videos for about a week and a half. So yeah, moving off this now, if you want to see some more photos of how my room looks now, go and check out my Twitter, because it's probably going to be a very long time until you actually get a room tour, because those things take a very long time to film. As I was saying, today I'm going to take a look at the second release from the 7th Doctor trilogy for this year, In the Blood Furnace, written by Eddie Robson. Now, this episode is once again having a few themes in there that we've seen in Doctor Who before, however experimenting with them a little bit, much like in The High Price of Parking, where it was an episode that I didn't really quite know what to expect, and that's the same for this one. I didn't really know what was going on. I would sort of expect a little bit of a darker story. However, we have a few sort of new series-y feels in there to an extent, as well as the standard 7th Doctor era feels in there as well. It's a rather odd one. However, Eddie Robson has been writing for Doctor Who for quite a lot. I did do a little bit of research before this video, and it turns out even saying that he's pretty much a Big Finish regular is a little bit of an understatement, because just upon some quick research, he's done the 8th Doctor EDA Adventures, Human Resources with the 8th Doctor and Lucy Miller. That is literally, I would say, 2003, something like that. So he's been working for Big Finish for quite a long time. So there's a few 6th Doctor stories as well, if I remember rightly. I think one called The Condemned. There's Fanfare for the Common Men, which is a 1963 release, which I do in fact have on my Big Finish shelf. I've not listened to that yet. That's one of those episodes that I literally just bought because the cover looked really cool. It's the one with the Beatles on, and it's the 5th Doctor release. But yeah, description below, I will leave the link to go and buy this release from the Big Finish website. As it is a monthly range release, there isn't really too much pre-order pricing stuff. It's pretty much the set price of the physical $14.99 for the CD, and the MP3 digital download is $12.99 as well. So if you're interested in what I say in this review, I do recommend checking out the trailer and the little bit of a write-up that is on the Big Finish website in case you want to go and buy this one. Some of the technical details now. As I said, it is written by Eddie Robson, directed by Ken Bentley. The cast for this one is kind of small, but I'm sort of getting used to that now. I've noticed that the monthly range tends to be really scaling back on the amount of people that they have, and this one is quite a confined one. Of course, we have Sylvester McCoy as the 7th Doctor, and once again, I'm having a little bit of a 7th Doctor moment at the moment. I'm really sort of getting to realise how much I do like his Doctor. Much like the 6th Doctor, in the TV show, he didn't exactly get the best reputation, much like the most of the 80s Doctors, to be quite honest. I think that Big Finish, especially as well with the 6th Doctor, they kind of have improved with age. I think that they have something, a warmness to their voices, and it just makes them so nice. I think that the 7th Doctor is a very unusual Doctor, because within the TV show itself, we got different variations of the 7th Doctor. We started off with the cream-jacketed version, which was the very much a clown, one that wasn't really took very seriously at all, and it's one of the ones that people look back on the 7th Doctor era and don't really like too much. However, the later half of the 7th Doctor era has that much darker Doctor, the one say from Ghostlight, which is rather dark, Survival, once again, when he starts to wear literally the darker clothing is when he does turn darker, and much like sort of Battlefield as well. I much prefer that darker side of the 7th Doctor, as well as the happy side as well. In this story, we have a balance between the two, which is something I really do like, because I think that whilst you have a Doctor like Sylvester McCoy that can do the fun side really well, it's nice to have a few of those elements in there, as well as the serious stuff as well, and that blends together to have a rather nice, warm, fuzzy Doctor, but with a mysterious edge. And I think that's the thing with the 7th Doctor. He is very mysterious. He definitely puts those questions, literally, not to be ironic with the jumper, but he literally puts that mysteriousness and the mystery behind Doctor Who again. Of course, we have two companions for this one. Firstly, we have Sophie Aldred as Ace, and once again, I can't really say anything new for Ace, because literally every single review that I've done with her in so far has been nothing but compliments, because Ace is one of those companions where literally the classic series is pretty much one of the main things the classic series created. She's one of the best companions. She's rather underrated as well. I think that she's very, once again, rather mysterious, and the fact that she had a backstory, she had a little bit of a plot line running throughout her era on Doctor Who, as well as we really got to know her character character and the relationship that she has with the 7th Doctor. So unlike many things when it comes to Big Finish, normally Big Finish goes and gets a rather empty shell character and goes and pads them out. However, with this and with every other release of Ace in, we don't really need to do that because the character is already really well padded out. So once again for this one, Sophie Aldred's excellent. I think that she slips back into the role brilliantly. She has some really nice moments, and once again, much like in many stories with Ace, she goes off and does her own thing, goes and gets into trouble. We don't really have Nitro 9 for this one, which sort of the other episode compensates for that to an extent because we had a lot of that in that one. But yeah, finally for companions, we have Bonnie Langford as Mel, and once again, I enjoyed her for this release. Much like in The High Price of Parking, of course, her general thing, her job, her career that she does in Doctor Who is, believe it or not, she's somebody who works on computers and she's meant to be really, really intelligent. However, we literally never seen her touch a computer at all on the TV show. With the previous release we did, and with this one, once again, we delve into that sort of past that Mel had as a person, because we meet one of her original boyfriends from, I do believe, very back from when she was in college, so that's nice to see. We have a few harkbacks in there, learning a little bit more about her character once again, and we nearly have her leaving the TARDIS at the very start of the story. She just goes, I have a job here now, nearly, so I might go and do it, instead of just sort of leaving the Doctor behind on the TARDIS, and I think that is a little bit, I guess the Doctor is a little bit shocked by that to an extent, which I guess is a new way to approach the idea. Of course, though, at the end, though, she does go off with the 7th Doctor in Ace once again. So Bonnie Langford for this one, although I don't really have a amazing happy side for Mel, I don't think that she's amazing. I think that even Big Finish, they can't exactly fix that. However, I think that she was still bearable for this one. Moving on to the plot for this one now, it's got a rather interesting setting. I love it when Doctor Who stories do something in England that isn't in fact based in London, as we always have Doctor Who stories that are based in London. And when it goes internationally, I think that people always forget Britain is more than just London. We have lots of different places and some really good areas that you could in fact have some very good stories in. And this one, I don't really think Doctor Who has ever gone to Liverpool before. On Merseyside, I do believe it even is. I think it may have had a reference to Liverpool at some point. But yeah, Merseyside, we just lands in sort of a shipyard type thing where, of course, boats come in, they put things on, and then it goes and gets delivered to other countries. I think that is a nice idea for Doctor Who because we don't really tend to see it that much, and it's a rather good area, to be honest. I love it when Doctor Who goes to do something different because automatically, even if you introduce a plot to the story that is rather used before, if you change the setting, it makes it feel a little bit more fresh, and that is definitely what this story does. And onto the plot for this one now, we have this corporation called the Dark Alloy Corporation, and they of course make alloy, and it's a little bit dark, who would have guessed it? But yeah, it's one of those things that is, I'm not even gonna hide the fact, it's essentially one of those plots that is used a lot when it comes to Doctor Who. It's been used over and over again, there's no denying. However, it's the way that Eddie sort of goes on and changes that in the later acts of the story. However, very early on, you do sort of get your very simple Doctor Who story that you've seen quite a few times before, where you have this company or corporation or person that believes it's sort of invented a material that is a little bit unusual. It's almost a little bit alien. It's almost like the person hasn't invented it whatsoever, and it's in fact a thing that aliens are brought to Earth, and they're sort of working together with them, maybe even unintentionally. And that is something with this one very much. Once again, we get the Dark Alloy idea and the way that they create ships, and that's the main idea and premise for this one, that we have this people, or sort of a rather alien race that isn't exactly controlling people. They sort of do to an extent near the very end. However, they're essentially making a spaceship that on the outside looks like your average 1990s shipboat to an extent, that goes to different countries and sort of ports things over and stuff like that. It's one of those rather unusual things. If it was in the TV show, you would literally have a boat flying in space. It's not the first time we've had that. Enlightenment, Voyager, The Damned. However, I just like that idea. The idea of the TARDIS, once again, is something very similar, having that British thing, a ship, a police public call box on that alien landscape. And I think that is something that Doctor Who does very well, and I guess it's a nice little thing for this one. But as I say, the plot could have maybe been developed a little bit more to start with, a few more ideas sort of brought in maybe, just to make it a little bit more unique. The alien race that are in this one, I'm going to mainly focus on one credit really, and that's Danuta, who is one of the main people, sort of, that I guess the captain, the leader of this alien race. And what I can credit Eddie Robson for on this one is you've got an alien race and they're not that human, and it sounds a bit weird, but when it comes to Doctor Who, you do get your standard alien race, but they are very humanoid and they do very human things. They act very human. However, in this one, the way that I can compare them is sort of to the Sycorax. The idea of blood is a little bit of a theme in this one, hence the name. A little bit of blood control perhaps in the later half of the story. However, the aliens for this one, it's been really well thought out. I love the way that we have a scene in the spaceship, and the way that they need to control it is essentially by having a little bit of a tank of water, and they have these rocks that they need to move around and sort of put them in a certain alignment. And I do believe that they need to be sort of on the edge of the water or something like that, sort of peeping above and a little bit below as well. It's really unusual. It literally sounds like just moving rocks around, but that sort of pilots the ship. Alien. It's not normal, it's not human, and I think that is something very good for this one. As I say, it really just set that alien premise, and a little bit of an interesting race as well. Could they return at some point? Yeah, maybe. There is a few things that they could develop. I think that something that would have been nice to see for this one is maybe around the middle act of the story, maybe seeing them go through the portal that they're using to sort of bring through the dark or light onto the ship, maybe going through to the alien place that they're from, sort of the dimension that they're from, and having maybe a few scenes within that dimension and how alien that dimension is, because as I say, they've been rather well padded out and sort of rather well set out of what their aims are, what their ideas are, so it would have been nice to maybe see a little bit of their homeworld to an extent a little bit more. The person that dies in this one as well, there is in fact quite a horrific death scene that I think in Doctor Who, well, it wouldn't happen these days, full stop, because the idea, as it does suggest in the title, it is relating to blood, and literally somebody, from what I can remember, gets dangled upside down, something happens to them that means that blood will pour out of them, and then that sort of goes into little vats and sort of little tubes, and almost like little drainage systems to an extent, and that is going to flood through the ship and sort of power it to an extent, and that is how the ship goes into space, because it is literally powered by blood, and sort of the way that I think we have a reference to how shipmen and people that make ships are very devoted to what they're doing, and sort of that passion that they have is something that is very strong and will help the ship fly or something like that. Once again, very alien, that idea of using passion to an extent as an actual power. Rather unusual, but that is the main thing for this story, having a few new things in there. But Ace does get carted off on the early half of the story, and Mel kind of does as well, because she thinks that she's going to be getting this job, so she naturally starts going to all the interviews that the corporation are letting on in their little ship, and Ace gets kidnapped. We have a scene where they fall off the top of the ship and then into the water. The 7th Doctor nearly drowns and Ace sort of get whisked off. So we do have a little bit of a split up scene once again, which I think with the 7th Doctor is probably one of the only ways to tackle them, with them being quite a 3-team. And I guess Ace and Mel, they don't exactly have a gelling bond, which is rather unusual. I think that with Doctor Who having that bond that does have a little bit of tension means it's a little bit more interesting. We do have a few more interesting scenes in there, as opposed to 2 people that would get along absolutely swimmingly. So yeah, it's one of those things that it would have been nice to see a little bit more of Mel in there to an extent maybe, or Ace given a little bit more to do, but it is sort of a 7th Doctor story. I think that the 7th Doctor has some nice moments in there, especially in the early half, as I say, and that balance between the darker side and the humorous side of the 7th Doctor is something that's definitely worth a listen if you're a 7th Doctor fan, and it's probably generally, if you are a 7th Doctor fan, you'll probably enjoy this one because it's just got the 7th Doctor in, much like how I enjoy episodes just because it has the 6th Doctor in, because it just has something about it. Naturally, the way that they present the script, the way that they deliver certain lines is definitely something that other Doctors will not be able to do. So yeah, as I say, if you're a 7th Doctor fan or a fan of the era, then I do recommend this one. So that's really it for this release. As I said at the very start, I will leave the link in the description below if you're interested by what I've said in this review. Generally, as I say, a rather interesting story, got some nice ideas in there. Would be nice to see a little bit more for pushing the boat out to an extent, maybe going to that alien world, and maybe a little bit of a tweaking to the not so original starting idea. It could have maybe had a few more parts added in, just to make it a little bit more unique. But generally, a nice story, fits into the 7th Doctor era really well. Eddie Robson clearly knows what he's doing. This one's packed with references, Sontarans, even one to Jadoon as well. Something that still catches me off guard, even though they've got the license. It's just nice to see that they're throwing in random references to the new series, even in the main range episodes as well. So we're going to have a reference to Gabriel Chase as well, which if you're a 7th Doctor fan, you'll of course know. Gabriel Chase is in fact the house in Ghostlight that had a little bit of a big part in the sort of early life of Ace. So once again, Eddie Robson clearly knows what he's doing when it comes to scripts, and I think that he can put references in without it being too fan service-ish, sort of. He has a very good ratio to an extent of what to include and what's appropriate in the certain scenes to make it not too reference heavy. So yeah, generally, if you like classic Doctor Who, you'll probably like this one. So that's really it. Join me next month for a review of the final 7th Doctor story from the current 2017 trilogy, which is The Silurian Candidate, I do believe, and that may be written by Matthew J. Elliott. I don't know. Don't quote me on that. Then we also have another main range release that I do believe is called Time in Office with the 5th Doctor. So unlike most months, we do in fact have 2 main range releases for next month. So yeah, it's going to be a little bit more packed than usual, which, you know, that's not a bad thing. So that's that. I guess I'll see you all in the next review, whatever that may be. Big Finish, product reviews, got a few of them on the way to end out summer, and then I go back to college again. But I hope that I'll get a little bit of sleep before then, because I'm literally shattered. But yeah, bye for now.